guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Ken, and today we're here to do a movie review for the new film Sinners. Which came out a couple of weeks ago, and we're a little bit late to the party on this movie, but we finally got a chance to go out and see it. And we're going to give you our thoughts in this video today, but before we get into it, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, we talk about movies and TV and all that good stuff. If you like that kind of stuff, entertainment-based content, subscribe to our channel. Also,
for sure, like this video.
Like the video, like she said. And then if you saw Sinners, which the movie's doing pretty well at the box office, I imagine a lot of people have seen Sinners. Let us know your thoughts on the movie in the comment section below.
Yeah.
So this is the latest film directed by Ryan Coogler, who's been pretty much like a franchise filmmaker beyond his first film, which was Fruitvale Station. But he did Creed.
Never heard of that.
Brought that franchise back, the Rocky franchise, and then he did 2 Black Panther movies. So this is an all-original story by him, written by him, and directed by him, starring Michael B. Jordan, who's been in every one of his films as well.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
So a lot of hype went into this film, and I want to know, I've been dying to know, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think if you watched our Out of the Theater...
We had some thoughts, yeah.
If you watched our Out of the Theater reaction, you would know that I enjoyed this movie quite a bit.
I was happy you enjoyed it because I was afraid you were going to hate it.
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned in the Out of Theater reaction video that I wasn't completely sold on this movie. I was kind of going just because you were excited to see it, and I didn't want you to go alone, even though you have no problem doing that. But I guess I was like worried about having some FOMO or something. But anyway, once we got in there, I'll say this too. I was a little, hesitant with it as well because it is a longer movie. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And, again, our theater shows a good 30 minutes worth of previews.
Yeah.
Which, we could, get there late, which we did get there a little bit late, but we still got our fair share of previews. But anyway, all that to say, I really found myself being very captivated by this movie. I was just very, enthralled. I don't know. It just felt like I was watching a real story, like come to life. Yeah, it was like reading a book and just wanting to know what was going to happen next. And I don't know. It just felt like real storytelling.
It is a period piece film that takes place in the 30s, and yeah, it feels very much of that era. I feel like we got a lot of these type of movies in the 90s, and whenever I say something feels like a movie we would have got in the 90s, I always consider that a compliment, because I just think that filmmaking was on like another level in that era. Not that there isn't good films being made now, but just as far as like production value and like doing these period piece type films, like you don't see as many of them now because I just don't think they do as well at the box office. But I just thought he did a really good job of just capturing the time period and the setting and just nailed all the characters and the performances. So definitely well done.
So I knew this going in, but you did not. But I knew that Michael B. Jordan was playing a twin. So
that's the benefit of not watching trailers. Was that in the trailer?
I'm not sure, but I just like heard about it in with social media or whatever.
Yeah, because I see them both standing there, and I'm like, okay, I know that's Michael B. Is that Michael B. Jordan too? I'm like, what's going on? Yeah, I didn't know that at all. Yeah, that was a nice surprise.
So yeah, Michael B. Jordan, he is playing, a set of twins. He plays both of them, like
Smoke and Stack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, they're playing like 30s gangsters. They came from Chicago and they were working for Al Capone.
They definitely like stuff. Yeah, they seem like they have like a scheme going on or something.
They moved back to Mississippi to try to get some stuff going and bring the money they bought. And
you quickly find out that they're just like very well known for who they are. Like they're for being like, I guess, troublemakers. Like don't mess with them kind of thing.
Yeah, that scene where he, again, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but like shoots those 2 guys. I was like, damn.
Oh yeah.
That's a way to establish yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
reinforce something.
I feel like this movie has a little bit of everything. Like, it's very serious, but there were also some comedic parts to it. And then, of course, we've got the horror that was sprinkled in, mostly, mid to end, maybe more the third act. I don't really know.
And I'm interested to know your thoughts on this. I've heard a lot of people say that they didn't even really need the vampire part. Like, this could have been a perfectly compelling story without it.
Right.
But then I would question where exactly they would go and what the movie would really be about. Like, what would be the hook?
Right.
I feel like they were kind of building to the vampire stuff throughout the film. Like, it wasn't a hard turn into it. Like, there were kind of nuggets along the way, I felt like.
Well,
so I agree and disagree. Like, it was a very good movie before all that stuff.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like that was what the movie was about. So you kind of needed it.
Well, this movie is ultimately about music.
It is.
It's not about vampires.
It is.
This movie is about music, and I kind of knew that, but I didn't know how heavily it was going to be, about music. But yeah, this is about music all the way, and in the opening you get the kind of setup that brings in the whole vampire thing that we have towards the third act or whatever. Essentially talking about how when you find someone with that musical gift, they can break a veil and it can let in evil spirits, hence the vampires. And so I do think that they brought the two together quite perfectly.
And there's been, stories and songs about that, about how music can conjure devilish forces and evil forces and things like that in the past.
Oh yeah,
it kind of goes into that.
Thinking about Elvis,
or the devil went down to Georgia. Isn't that what that song's about?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, playing his fiddle or something. But yeah, just think about when Elvis came out, the way that he moved and stuff. They said that was sinful, and
the whole satanic panic of the 80s with the rock and heavy metal and things like that. But
so yeah, it's definitely.
I did want to bring up I guess kind of the lead next to Michael B. Jordan, but the guy who played Sammy, Miles Catton, I think is his name. But he's a real life musician. He's a musical prodigy, and this was his first film that he ever acted in.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool, and he was good in the movie, as far as his performance. So he
was good. Yeah. It was going back to the music. It was definitely an interesting choice. It was just the very soulful blues music, like you said. But then they had this. When we got introduced to the vampires, or the main vampire, he had this Irish thing going on.
Yeah, he was definitely an Irish vampire.
Yeah, so then they had this folk music, folk Irish stuff going on. So that was an interesting thing. I don't know if that makes sense though, period wise. Were there Irish people?
Yeah, during that time there was quite a few Irish immigrants. I mean, I mean, my heritage is Irish and German, and they came over during that area.
Yeah, so I guess that makes sense or whatever. Because I just wasn't expecting that part of it, which going off of the main vampire guy, the one that kind of started the outbreak of the vampires, if you will. I really liked him. I thought he was good.
He was really good. I wasn't sure about him at first, but he became extremely just charismatic and charming. I feel in later parts, and that's what you need as a lead vampire. That's always a really juicy, meaty role to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was good too, and I like the two people that he turned into vampires as well.
You did? Okay, yeah.
I thought they were really good. Even though the one actress, I kept thinking she reminded me a lot of Kristen Wiig for some reason.
Me too.
Even though I knew it wasn't her, I was she just kind of has that same type of look and mannerisms.
Yeah, I agree actually. I thought kind of we're scattering around here, but if we want to get into the horror part of it, and the vampires, the vampires, I thought that they looked good. They had this kind of red glowy eye, which normally I don't know. I'm not always like a fan of the whole like glowy eye thing, but for me, like it worked in this.
There were certain visuals that looked really creepy,
Yeah.
really scary. So I thought they did it pretty well.
Yeah. And, I did hear some complaints about the blood. I heard that it just
Yeah.
looked like watery and I guess just not like very blood like. um,
I mean, you can complain about anything, going back to like 80s horror films and,
yeah,
and things like
I'm not
that.
sure
I mean,
that
I thought the effects were well done, but there was also some CGI that I felt was a little questionable throughout. That was kind of maybe my only issue.
all in all, I thought that this was just like a really captivating movie story. My only complaint really is that I do feel like it had some fluff, I guess, or just it was, I hate to say it, but it was too long. I do feel like they could have cut out some stuff. I could have actually done without the ending, where I don't really guess we should talk about it because it is a spoiler.
Yeah.
But there was just like a scene. It just felt like that they were really trying to like tie up all the loose ends really nicely, and I just don't think that it needed it. And I feel like it just added a lot of extra runtime to the movie, which did, like this movie did feel long, even though I was like captivated by it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I personally think that they could have shaved off a good, 10,
Yeah.
20 minutes possibly.
I mean, my only issue was like when things start really going to hell and breaking down, I just felt it was a little rushed, and maybe they could have used just a little bit more time in some of those. Again, I don't want to like spoil anything, but there's just some, I guess, pacing problems I had with the third act, and so because I felt like the entire movie was very well paced and everything was kind of building to something. And everything felt like it fit and belonged, and then by the time we got to this like big moment at the end, I felt like it was just so rushed. I didn't even know what had happened, and a lot of that was the vampire action and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, honestly,
I was like, "What's going on? Like, what, oh, damn, this is happening fast. Like,
well,
there's just
I
a lot to
think
process here in this moment."
calling back to one of your favorites, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, I didn't mention it yet, but yeah,
People argued that movie is kind of the same pacing to where you don't really get like the whole like vampire stuff until I guess close to the end. Is that true?
it's similar. The only difference I would say is this movie lets you know about the vampire stuff like kind of early on, whereas
Yeah.
From Dusk Till Dawn does not.
Okay.
Like it just turns into a vampire movie, and if you didn't know it was that, then you would be completely shocked that
Right.
it just turns like that.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie kind of builds to it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But even From Dusk Till Dawn, like it gives the vampire stuff time to breathe. Like there's the initial big moment, and then it kind of calms down, and then it kind of goes into the finale. I don't know, the pacing in that movie. I love that movie. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel like the pacing in that's just a little bit better, at least with the vampire stuff. I'm not saying that it's a better movie. That's always subjective, but
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, overall, this was it was a good to great movie. I don't know if I'm prepared to call it great, but I definitely liked it a lot.
Yeah. Do you feel like, are you happy that you saw it in the theater, or do
Yeah.
you feel like you could have seen this at home?
Well, I like, I guess, being a part of these big like event film conversations and things like that. And I do like to reward a movie for being of a certain caliber.
Original
And it's original. It's directed by a director that I like, that I've liked for a while. And I mean, I think it deserves the praise that it's getting. So,
and
yeah.
I mean, we didn't even see this movie how it was intended to be
Yeah,
seen.
we don't have IMAX. We got one IMAX screen in our entire state, it feels like.
Yeah.
And
So
it's hard to get to.
I will say though, like the sound was good.
Yeah.
Lots of like layered sound going on, like with the surround sound and everything. Like there were many times to where, like when they were like in the musical scenes, or they were like in the barn having the party and stuff, like you would hear like background conversations going on, and I almost thought it was like people in our theater.
Yeah.
But it was the movie, because they just had so many like layers of sounds going on.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good musical sequences, one in particular that's really like gnarly and trippy that kind of goes
It
throughout.
was,
It's
and
kind of like I don't know about this for a second, and then
I know,
it kind of brought
yeah.
me back. It kind of got me, I guess, by the end of it.
Yeah, I
I was on
kept
board with it, but it was like a journey. I feel like when they were doing it.
Yeah, that was a very interesting choice. I did hear about some kind of like musical scene. And so I kept wondering like what that scene was going to be. And it definitely had to have been that one.
Yeah.
Because we did get another scene, like, I mean, there's like a few scenes. But yeah, that was definitely a very interesting choice. It was like a mixture of like different musical, like, different time eras basically. um
Yeah, it gets out there for
it's
sure.
very weird, but again, it goes back to that whole like breaking the veils, like breaking the like layers of
Yeah.
time and stuff.
I mean, I liked it because it shows that Ryan Coogler is trying to put his stamp on it and do something
Yeah,
different, and it feels like the voice of a visionary or a director. Like, it just doesn't feel like something you've ever seen before. So even if it doesn't work like completely, like, I still like to see stuff like that. But getting into our closing thoughts, I enjoyed this film quite a bit. I thought all the performances were good. We didn't talk about her, but Haley Steinfeld I thought was really good in the film as well, and I thought she played off of Michael B. Jordan well. It is a very dirty movie, I will say that. Did you enjoy those parts?
yeah. Again, I feel like I heard comments about,
Good amount of sleaze.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That was an interesting thing too. Like, I don't know, like, if Ryan Coogler like was trying to make a point there or what he was trying to do. But
And it was
anyway,
all
yeah.
pretty like female driven, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to keep it, PG around here, which we don't do a lot. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I am glad that I saw this. I thought it was very, very enjoyable. Could have been a little shorter. But other than that, I think that it's definitely worth checking out.
Yep, for sure. And we appreciate you guys checking out our review of Sinners. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts down below, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.